Here we have an interesting topic in 9th standard, and that's cellular respiration. So in this class, I'll give you a small outline regarding cellular respiration. So let me define cellular respiration. Respiration in the cellular level is termed as cellular respiration. I will explain with the help of a diagram. Please observe the diagram which is there on the smart board. Let it be a cell. Okay, let it be a cell. Is the cytoplasm and is the nucleus of the cell. After the process of digestion, the nutrients are being extracted from the intestine and it is transported to each and every cell. As an example, let it be the glucose which is there inside the cell. Now this cell consists of glucose. This cell is going to utilize this glucose to release energy. This process is actually called as cellular respiration. I repeat, respiration in the cellular level is called as cellular respiration, and here the cellular respiration is the process by which the cells are utilizing the glucose, and using this glucose they are releasing or they are synthesizing energy for their metabolic activities. This process is called as cellular respiration, or otherwise we can say the respiration in the cellular level is called as cellular respiration. And this cellular respiration has two stages or two phases. So let me explain which are the two phases or stages which is involved in cellular respiration. The two phases or stages involved in cellular respiration. The first one is the glycolysis. I repeat, glycolysis, which is very important. Glycolysis. And the second phase is called the Krebs cycle. Krebs cycle. Okay. The type of respiration which is taking place in the cellular level is called as cellular respiration. Cellular respiration is the process by which the cells are deriving the energy. The glucose which is present inside the cell is being reduced or it is converted to energy. That process is called as the cellular respiration, and the cellular respiration has two steps or two phases. One is the glycolysis and Krebs cycle. So let me explain about this glycolysis and Krebs cycle in detail. So we'll start with glycolysis. The glycolysis can be defined as the process of converting glucose into pyruvic acid. The process of converting glucose into pyruvic acid is termed as glycolysis. This is the cell, this is the nucleus, and the glucose is already there inside the cytoplasm. The glucose is already there inside the cytoplasm. This glucose undergoes a series of chemical changes. This glucose undergoes a series of chemical changes, and this glucose gets converted into pyruvic acid. Okay, I am abbreviating it as PA, pyruvic acid. This process is called as glycolysis. Okay, it undergoes a series of steps, but in 9th standard we can define glycolysis as the process of conversion of glucose into pyruvic acid is called as the glycolysis. The importance of this step is that glycolysis takes place in cytoplasm. Okay, it takes place in cytoplasm. The glycolysis takes place in cytoplasm. During the process of glycolysis, energy is released in the form of ATP. We discussed about ATP in the first chapter. ATP means adenosine triphosphate, which is also called as the universal energy currency. I hope you know this. Okay, so during the process of glycolysis, during the conversion of glucose into pyruvic acid, energy is released, and the total amount of energy released is 2 ATP. During this process, 2 ATP molecules are produced. Okay, 2 ATP molecules are produced during the process of glycolysis. The process of conversion of glucose into pyruvic acid is termed as glycolysis. During this process, energy is released, and the amount of energy produced is 2 ATP molecules are produced, and this glycolysis takes place in cytoplasm. And another feature of this glycolysis is oxygen is not required. Oxygen is not required for this phase. Oxygen is not required for this phase. So that's all about glycolysis. Simple definition of glycolysis: the process of converting glucose into pyruvic acid is called as glycolysis, which is taking place in cytoplasm. Oxygen is not required for this process. At the same time, two ATP molecules are produced during this phase. And this glycolysis, the next step in cellular respiration is the Krebs cycle. So let me explain about Krebs cycle. Okay. The second step is the Krebs cycle. Now consider this diagram. The same cell, after glycolysis, the glucose gets converted into pyruvic acid. This pyruvic acid is transported into a cell organelle. The cell organelle is called as the mitochondrion. Mitochondrion, which is also called as the powerhouse of the cell. Okay, the glucose gets converted into pyruvic acid during the process of Krebs cycle, and after that, this pyruvic acid is transported into mitochondrion. From mitochondrion, this pyruvic acid also undergoes a series of chemical changes. This pyruvic acid reaches the mitochondrion. And from mitochondrion, this pyruvic acid undergoes a series of chemical reaction, and after some times, this pyruvic acid gets converted into carbon dioxide plus water, along with energy is also released. The total amount of energy produced during Krebs cycle is 28 ATP. 28 ATPs are formed. I repeat, after the Krebs cycle, the pyruvic acid formed in cytoplasm is transported into mitochondrion. Mitochondrion is the powerhouse of the cell. From mitochondrion, this pyruvic acid undergoes a series of chemical reaction and thus converted into carbon dioxide, water, and energy in the form of 28 ATP. So this is the total process. Involved in cellular respiration. So let me conclude this. Cellular respiration is the respiration. The cellular level is termed as cellular respiration, and two stages or two phases are involved in cellular respiration. One is the glycolysis, and another one is the Krebs cycle. The process of converting glucose into pyruvic acid is termed as the glycolysis. Two ATP molecules are produced. Oxygen is not required for this stage, and after glycolysis, the next stage is the Krebs cycle. Pyruvic acid, which is formed in the cytoplasm, is transported into mitochondrion. Oxygen is required for this phase. From mitochondrion, the pyruvic acid undergoes a series of chemical reaction and gets converted into carbon dioxide, water, along with 28 ATP molecules. So this is an outline of the topic cellular respiration. Thank you.